So this is Dr. Hayes. We're trying this again for the umpteenth time. Apparently there are some technical difficulties. Hopefully I can be heard. I was just restarting my intro about how you can find out about this work at whyagain.org. Go to that page and click on the Start Here link, and if what you find there brings comments or questions, give us a call at 563-999-3581 and press 1. I will move right into our Course in Miracles workbook lesson today. Today is lesson 307. It simply reads, conflicting wishes cannot be the Creator's will. Creator, your will is mine and only that. There is no other will for me to have. So let me not try to make another will, for it is senseless and will cause me pain. The Creator's will alone can bring me happiness, and only that exists. If I would have only what only the Creator could give, I must accept the Creator's will for me and enter into peace where conflict itself is impossible. Your offspring are one with you in being and in will, and nothing contradicts the holy truth that we remain as you created us. And with this prayer, we enter silently into a state where conflict cannot enter, because we join our holy will with the Creator's will in recognition that we are the same. Way of Mastery often says, the Creator does not create unlike itself. Pam Grout, in her lesson 307 from the Course in Miracles experiment book, is titled Only One Channel. She quotes Franz Kafka as saying, be quiet, still, and solitary. The world will freely offer itself to you to be unmasked. It has no choice. It will roll in ecstasy at your feet. Pam writes, when I was growing up, television programming ended at midnight. The national anthem was dutifully played and a black and white test pattern popped up until programming resumed the next morning. Today, there is nary a minute when the airwaves aren't broadcasting. It never stops. It never ends. The same can be said about our source. There's never a lapse. The divine buzz never ceases transmitting guidance, blessings, signs, and miracles. I, on the other hand, frequently tune into a different channel. Let's call it the grievance channel, the channel where something is not quite right. That's why in lesson 307 and over throughout this course, I am reminded there's really only one channel. And if I'm seeing something besides beauty, light, and never-ending joy, I'm running a self-created test pattern of grievances. The grievances obscuring the divine buzz are subtle, and they're so subtle I don't always recognize that I'm running them. That's why every morning I solicit help. I turn my day over to the Holy S, and my intention for an extraordinarily epic day. So, that's lesson 307 from the Course in Miracles experiment, and the workbook lesson 307, conflicting wishes cannot be my will. And we have, as usual, about 50 minutes left to have commentary and questions. I had a request from Susan. Are you there, Susan?
Hey, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good.
Are you also?
And Ellen's going to come on too.
Open mic, Ellen.
Hi, Dr. Tim. Hi, Susan.
Welcome.
Hi. Thank you.
Well,
all right.
Ellen did a worksheet, and we got into the patter part, and I realized it was really in need of the wizardry of Dr. Tim, and I'd just love to get us there somehow again, and so we can take it from there.
All right. Well, how would you like to proceed?
Ellen,
Well,
do you want to read? Can you read the answers, or do you want to talk? Or
yeah, actually, I'm not even in front of my computer right now, but I can just explain a little bit what the issue is. It's another piece of unresolved stuff for me that is coming up as a result of my cat going missing, and it's a major piece that I recognize that I've never really dealt with, and it has to do with my relationship with my father. Whew. Yeah, I wasn't getting emotional when I was doing the worksheet before, and now it's coming up. And it has to do with what I wrote as my reality. And it wasn't really, I wasn't conscious of this when I was a child, okay, of what I now understand about our relationship. But what I understand now is that he was using me to fulfill his emotional needs because I believe because, his relationship to my mother had just gone down the tubes. And so my reality was that, but back then, all I knew was that, I didn't understand any of that. So for me, I guess the challenge of this worksheet is, do I look at this now from the perspective as an adult, now that I have this understanding, or do I look at it from the perspective of the child that I was when it was going on?
Well, if that's an open question to me, the answer would be that I would do both, one at a time.
Okay.
Maybe it would be expedient to read the worksheet because we got deep into it, and your goal was very well delineated, I thought. So
okay.
Would that make sense, Dr. Tim, to just read the
Sure.
Worksheet? Okay. Ellen said she had no feelings, and I said, okay, then let's back our way in. My light is blocked by the thoughts I hold about my father. My reality comes from my own mind and is my responsibility. I ask that love be restored to my mind. To collapse my reality, I locate and cancel my need for my father to have fulfilled his own emotional needs. She had put it in the negative first, but we switched it around so that I wish that my father had been able to fulfill his own emotional needs. And I hope that's okay. It was hard because it's all in the past, and he's gone now. There's no negotiating this. So, number 3, I ask that my true being, love, be restored to my awareness. I'm willing to have my reality and its effects change. I want to be shown the truth. A, in the pattern, I cancel my need to be right, that my father was using me. And there are lots of things that Ellen perceives as her truth, and I listed them on the worksheet. I had the worksheet in front of me, Dr. Tim, and she did not, so because we were on a Zoom. My parents had me in the middle of a tug-of-war between them. If they fought, I was in the middle of the fight, and I was absorbing a great amount of negativity. I learned not to trust either one of them.
Well, I didn't know which one to trust.
Okay.
They kept telling me not to look at the other one.
Okay. But that your father was the more available emotionally. You felt safer with your mother, but your father was available emotionally. And you were your dad's favorite. This is all part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And then you felt responsible for your dad's happiness. And so then we just took it from there. I cancel my need for anyone or anything to change, including me. I put my conscious, logical mind on the shelf for now. I cancel my specific goal for this worksheet. I ask to be shown. I place myself in that open, allowing state, and this is where it just went blunderbuss. There's so much material here. And Ellen, so you take it from here. How about where your dad is crawling in the room, for instance?
Yeah. Well, the first image that came to me was opening my eyes in the middle of the night and seeing my father on his hands and knees crawling into my room. And he often would come in and sleep with me, and there was never any, sexual abuse, but he would often come in and sleep with me. And it wasn't until, just now that I realized that, I guess, like I don't think normally I would even see him coming in, but that one night I opened my eyes and he was crawling into my bedroom, and I knew he was going to come into bed with me. And there was like some fear around that. And I don't know if it was just seeing him like that, or I don't even remember honestly how I felt. I really honestly don't remember how I felt about him sleeping with me. I don't remember if I liked it or I didn't like it.
You mentioned once during the talking that you were afraid, but you liked feeling special. Well, no, I don't think I was afraid that I was afraid of him because he could be so cruel. I mean, he was the one that would punish us. And he could say some very, very cruel things. And at the same time, I was like his special one. So I didn't really have anyone other than him that I felt like maybe had my back in the family, but then I wasn't really sure that he did have my back. It was a very complicated relationship. I didn't really know where I stood with him.
Okay, so may I ask some clarifying questions?
Sure.
So what was the original impetus for picking up a worksheet, Ellen? What's going on in your life today?
It's the cat, and how the situation with the cat is almost exactly the same situation I've had in past love relationships, in that I ended up, I'd be in a relationship with someone, then I find out that there was another girlfriend prior to me who then ended up with the person instead of myself. And I didn't understand any of what was going on there until I found out when I was in therapy about 10 years ago that what had gone on with my father was considered emotional sexual abuse, and that it sets up a situation where, in this case, me being the girl, the daughter ends up in relationships where she ends up being the other woman as opposed to the wife.
Okay. So let me just ask again, what was going on with your cat that made you pick up a worksheet today?
Because what's going on with the cat is almost exactly the same. Like I see how it relates to that whole dynamic.
Okay, but just give me a description. What was going on with the cat today that prompted the worksheet now? So the cat has been missing for a while?
Yes, well, I believe that he is with a woman who owned him prior to myself.
Okay, and so what was related to the cat? What would your goal for the worksheet be?
related to the cat?
Yes.
That she let him be free to choose where he wants to live.
Okay, so this is not a worksheet on the cat. This is a worksheet on the woman, the other woman. Now,
well,
I'm just giving you that as I'm just giving you that as clarification, because when we set a goal in the worksheet, that is the subject of the worksheet. And so when I choose a subject for the worksheet, I want to be clear so that the goal lines up with the subject and lines up with the emotion. So you could set a worksheet around the cat, which would be for the cat to choose you. But if it's a goal for the woman to do something, then the worksheet's on the woman.
It is. It's on her because he did choose me. That was the thing. And it's the same thing that happened in these past love relationships, in that the reason that I ended up being not the one that was chosen was because of the other woman's attempts at committing suicide. So it was like not giving them a choice to be who they wanted to be with who they really wanted to be with. Which is, I feel like, the same thing that it's with the cat.
Okay, but let me just help you clarify this. When you're talking about a cat, mm-hmm. and the cat doesn't have the ability to unlock a door and drive a car and get back to you, it's about the person who's keeping the cat from you. But when you're talking about, a lover, an adult, it's not about another person keeping that person from you. It's about the lover.
Right.
It's not about how your mother kept your father from you. It's not about the woman who threatened suicide. And in her threatening suicide, she's doing nothing to make somebody choose her over you. That's not how that dynamic works. He's free to choose you, even if she says, if you choose her, I'll commit suicide. That's not making him choose her over you.
Okay.
And if you're not clear about that, then you're going to go on a wild goose chase about this second and third level factors influencing someone rather than looking directly at the cause. What's happening in a relationship where somebody starts having a relationship with you and then chooses to go back to their ex-lover is they choose to go back to their ex-lover.
Right. And that's why in those situations as soon as I found out, I just walked away. And that was that. Until I found out that, oh, wow, this is like a pattern that got formed with my father. Because in my relationship with him, even though it wasn't like that type of love relationship, it still got set up where I really was kind of like the mistress in the situation, and the other woman, you could say.
Okay, so then when you become aware of that, and it's wide awake now because of however it came into your awareness, prior therapy and insight from the situation with the cat. Now, if you want to go do the worksheet on your father, it's the goal that you chose was, I want my father to fulfill his own emotional needs, which is a valid goal. And when you think about that, and you know, in the worksheet I have, the 7-step worksheet, in 1B, the object of your attention is your father, and what happens would be he pulled me into his relationship to satisfy his emotional needs. And then we would ask you to back up and say, when you have the thought, my father pulled me into his relationship to satisfy his emotional needs, what emotion are you aware of when you think about that having been a powerful dynamic in your life?
Well, I want to say anger, but I know that that's actually not considered an emotion, but that's the first thing that comes to me.
Well, that's fine. So it's anger. So in this worksheet on the 7-step one, I would just put, here's anger is in 1B, and in 1C it is father, and the summary is he pulled me into his relationship, pulled me in to satisfy his needs, and then, and you can put emotional if you need to put that in there for clarification. And then, how strong would you say the anger is on a scale of 0 to 10?
Well, so this is the hard part because I'm not, my upsetness in right today is not even about that. But I see that it's related to that. This is where I'm struggling.
Well, so okay, so you're struggling. So that's a level of intensity that you're struggling with. How strong is your struggle?
Oh, I would say it's probably a 9.
All right.
I mean,
okay.
my stomach is
so,
much than nuts.
All right. So then the thought is that what's the thought you use to generate your anger? He had no right to use me that way?
Yeah. And there's the other piece in that he was the one that really prevented my mother and I from ever bonding, because I found out that the reason that we never did bond was because he told her not to pick me up and tend to me when I cried.
Okay, so there's a really good Hydra worksheet. So you'd pull out another blank worksheet and you'd say, I, Ellen, who am love, have anger. And what happened? My father told my mother not to pick me up. My father prevented my mother from connecting with me. And then it would be the same kind of thing. It's anger, and it's a slightly different worksheet, but it's significantly different enough to create another worksheet and put the same thing. Instead of what happened, he pulled me in to satisfy his needs, it would be he prevented my mother from bonding with me. Mm-hmm. And then you can have the same thought that generates the anger. He has no right to separate me from my mother. It's a slightly different thought. And then, what's your punishment thought for your father when you think he had no right to use me that way?
Gosh, I can't, nothing's coming.
Okay, well, just think about it for a minute. He abused you to satisfy his own needs, and keep going.
I can't. It's hard for me to think of him in that way.
Right. So, what are the tears about? Just keep breathing. Stay with the tears.
I can't. There's something that just won't allow me to see him as an abuser.
Okay. And you don't have to see him as an abuser to understand that what he did was not good.
Right. Because I don't know if he even knew the impact that any of that would have on me.
So if you step past the labels and you're not condemning anybody, but you think about how he pulled you in to satisfy his own needs, and you have the thought, he had no right to use me that way, what's the punishment thought? I want to yell at him, I want to tell him he was wrong, I want to punch him in the face, I want to run away and never talk to him again. It doesn't matter if he's in the body now or not. We're just saying, what's the thought that comes up as a punishment thought when you are awake to the sensation, to the thought that he had no right to use me that way?
I guess I just
it
want
could
him
be
to know
good. Just want him to know
that he's the pain that.
Perfect. All right. I want him to know how much he hurt me.
Yes.
All right. I want him to know. So you can just put, I want him to know how much he hurt me, how much pain he caused me. And what's a punishment thought for yourself that comes to mind when you realize what's going on in the dynamic of this worksheet?
Well, and I'm just stuck in this pattern of never getting the love that I desire.
Okay, so you could say it a number of different ways. What I'm going to say now isn't the only way, but you could say, my punishment thought for myself is to endlessly seek approval from people who won't give it. Right, stuck in that pattern of seeking approval, of getting
feel
love
like it
from
was
people who won't give it.
Yeah, getting the love. Like, yeah, I felt like I was from my mother's love, prevented from having my mother's love.
So take a breath and just lock that in. What we've got is, I, Ellen, who am loved, and feeling anger. What happened? My father pulled me in to satisfy his emotional needs. My thought is he had no right to use me that way. My punishment thought is I want him to know how badly he hurt me. And my punishment thought for myself is I stay stuck in a pattern of trying to get love from people who won't give it to me. Right? And then I'm going to choose to love truth, the capital T truth, what actually is. I'm going to be willing to face and process out all of the dis-ease producing energies for and from all of my relations and generations. And I'm going to willingly go through the physical, mental, and emotional symptoms of healing. And I'm going to choose my goal. And what you said from your last one is my goal is for my father to fulfill his own emotional needs. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm just writing that down in this worksheet so I can keep track of it. And then we have on the worksheet it says, I release and surrender myself, Ellen, all of my emotions of anger, my dad, my story that he pulled me in to satisfy his needs, my thought that he had no right to use me in that way, my punishment thought for him, my punishment thought for myself. I surrender all of that to love. And I remember, with a nice deep cleansing breath and a slow exhale, that if I'm in pain, my thinking is in error. And in this moment, if they're the one with the problem, why am I the one with the pain? So I'm going to do a quick practice release here, and I'm going to say I cancel my need to be right about my dad and all of this interaction. I cancel my need to make up another story out of what happened and the memories I have of it in my mind, to hallucinate the proof that my fear and my hostility-based story, my reality about this situation is true. I'm going to cancel my need to do that. And then I'm going to choose love. I'm going to choose my essence. I'm going to choose to be aware that my true nature is love. And when I do that, it's going to stir the loving energy in everyone involved. And so I'm going to take a moment or two, or as long as you need, to shift the focus of my thoughts over to one of the most loving, peaceful, strong, happy, safe, connected memories I have. And breathe into that until your energy in your heart space gets shifted to that loving energy, away from this anger and all of the upset in the worksheet. And just do that for however long it takes, and let me know when you've achieved a shift by focusing on solid, safe, happy, connected, competent memories that you have of your own life. And keep your breath moving, and let me know when you've had a shift in your energy.
Okay, I'm gonna. I have this cat that's crying. I have to take care of him for a moment here. Okay, go ahead, please. Okay, yeah, I'm struggling. I can think of loving moments. I'm struggling to find any safe moments, but let me just.
Well, there have been many in your life. Let yourself go there, whether it's being with friends like Susan who support you, or being out in nature for a walk. You've had some conversations here where you've talked about how wonderful it is for you to be out in nature and be in the present moment. And just breathe into one of those memories until your energy shifts in your heart space.
Okay.
Got it?
Okay. Yeah, I think so.
All right. The next step in the worksheet says, I have to recognize that whenever I'm upset, the pictures my mind shows me are coming from corrupt data, and they're driven by any unfulfilled goals I might be holding. In this case, my goal for my father to fulfill his own emotional needs. The pictures that show up in my mind are a limited picture constructed of tiny bits of data when there's at least 10,000 brain cells firing. And so by canceling the goal I'm holding, it helps the replicate part of my mind collapse its picture and gives me some direct contact with whatever's been denied and dissociated in my mind, in my brain. And that part of my mind and brain, when it dissociates stuff, it projects and blames others for its content. So while I hold my energy of love conscious, active, and present, I now choose to collapse my mind's lies and willingly cancel my goal for my father to fulfill his own emotional needs. And then just breathe. And then I want to invite some outside source, God, light, love, Ruka Dakucha, Jesus, Holy Mary, whatever. So who would you like to invite to help you shift this energy?
Holy Spirit.
Who or what? Holy Spirit. I invite Holy Spirit to incline me toward healing, to restore me to the awareness of my newborn essence as love, to heal my denial, and heal my capacity to generate the emotion of anger, which is up for me in this worksheet, and to help me open a direct conscious relationship with and gently remove the denied, dissociated, and projected parts of my carbon-based memory. And just be willing to do that, and then take a breath or two, and then silently inside your own mind, as I talk out loud, just repeat inside silently in your own mind what I'm going to say. And keep your breath moving, and do a little meditation here. I cancel my need to be right. I cancel my need for anyone or anything to change, including myself. I specifically cancel my goal in this worksheet. I put my conscious, logical mind on the shelf for now, and I ask to be shown the hidden parts of my own mind. And then I just want to breathe and soften and just be awake and aware for whatever pops into my head. Anything that shows up is part of what I need to see to begin to heal here and move forward. And I just want to notice if I get an image of the past, how old I was, where I was, who else was there, and what's happening. As I hold this goal that I've just canceled, for my father to fulfill his own emotional needs, and I hold myself in this awareness of my true nature as love, and ask to be shown the hidden part of my own mind that's actually creating my anger. And just breathe and soften and cancel my need to be right, cancel my need for anyone or anything to change, including myself, specifically cancel my goal in this worksheet, put my conscious logical mind on the shelf for right now, and ask to be shown the hidden part of my own mind that's actually spinning and creating this anger. And just breathe and soften until you feel something shift or fade, or until you get an insight, or until you realize that it's just going to spin and leave you with no specific insight. And stay with it as long as you need until one of those three things happens. If it goes to an earlier time, let yourself remember how old you were, where you were, who else is there, and what's happening. And just breathe into it as you notice as many details of it as you can. And then constantly, gently remind yourself to cancel your need to be right, and cancel your need for anyone or anything to change, including yourself. And let me know when you get a shift or an insight, or you realize that it's just going to spin and go nowhere.
Well, what's been coming in for me as you've been talking is some insights that I've been having about how I took the absence of my mother, being there for me, like when I cried. I took that to mean that I wasn't loved, and I know that it has nothing to do with that, but that's how I saw it, or that was my perception.
Okay. And so breathe, soften into that energy that's coming up, that sadness, it sounds like. And was there a specific memory that comes up with that thought that you downloaded this conclusion that you weren't loved when your mother didn't pick you up or come to you when you wanted her to?
Well, there was just so much yelling, and there was so much noise. I see that my mother really couldn't even appreciate me because she was so... First of all, she had 3 other kids and wasn't getting the support of my father. Her marriage was falling apart, and there was just so much going on for her emotionally that...
Okay, so now it sounds like you're getting some insight that is directly related to a conclusion you downloaded that you were not lovable. And the insight helps you understand from the adult perspective that that's a completely erroneous conclusion to draw. Right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So you might want to make some notes about that one of your insights is...
Yeah, this is not a new insight.
Right, but it's coming up now when you do this worksheet. And so when it comes up like this, it may contain some items, some tweaks, some little memory nudges that take it another step further. So you just make a note about that. Then you notice if there were any other thoughts. Like sometimes when I do these worksheets, I'll have a whole, like a Rolodex spinning, the old Rolodex. I'll have like dominoes falling, one memory after another after another. So I just want to make note if that was the kind of thing that happened for me, or if I just flashed on one particular incident and got stuck there. It's fine either way. I just want to make some notes about it, and then I want to take a breath and scan my body right now. I want you to do this. And as you scan your body, notice what's the strongest emotion or physical sensation that you're aware of in this moment.
Well, what's been going on with me physically is a lot of, I don't know, I want to call it palpitations, or in like my solar plexus area, shaking in that area.
Okay. That would make a note of that.
Okay.
And with that and that awareness, what emotion are you aware of right now?
Oh, it's like grief.
Okay. And then make a note of that. So you've shifted from anger to grief, which is excellent just because it's energy moving and you're following it and you're willing to make a note about it. Then, about the situation in 1A, the situation where my father told me to satisfy his needs, and my thought is he had no right to use me that way. What you just said and what you can write in 6C or 6B is, I see how I falsely believed that my mother's choices or interactions with me and my dad meant I was not lovable. And that's what you could write in 6B.
Okay.
Not that it's a new insight to this worksheet, but it came up again, and so it's a good thing to acknowledge.
Okay.
So that's, a connected thought related to this process. Now, a principle of the universe is that by giving, I first get the original. And so I'm going to try and be grateful to my father for this opportunity to heal. I'm going to choose to love the capital T truth of what actually is. I'm going to choose to value the capital T truth. I'm going to choose to value perfect love, which is the essence of creation, etc. And I'm going to use this as an opportunity to structure a truly loving goal towards, in this case, it's your dad and the object of this worksheet. And what I would recommend that you choose as one of your goals, you might have several on a worksheet like this, is that you choose to apply the goal you have to him in your life. Today, Dad, I commit to working to fulfill my own emotional needs and doing worksheets as necessary to move me toward that goal.
Yeah, that's good.
I commit to breaking this pattern of looking to people outside me who will not love me or are incapable of loving me to fill my emotional needs. I commit to filling my own emotional needs with every tool I can find and the love and support of friends and community. And that might take the form of, I'm going to do 2 more worksheets. I'm going to do the Hydra worksheet on mom and how dad prevented mom from connecting with me. And I can, I find it valuable to choose a specific task that's time limited so I can know when it's done. 2 worksheets, a mind shifter journaling session or whatever, and include that in the goal that I write in number 7.
Okay.
Because talk about a wonderful learning piece here. Wow, I just woke up and realized I was taught by my father to look outside of me for my emotional support and needs, and I learned it masterfully. And I've been on that journey trying to get people outside of me to make me feel loved, and that's what's got me trapped. Not what my dad did when I was younger. That was a problem. That was inappropriate. That was wounded material from a wounded person. But what's happening in my life today is I watched him and studied him, and now I'm doing the same thing. So I'm going to step into my own authority, authenticity, agency, power, and I'm going to learn to source my own emotional needs and break the cycle of seeking approval from people outside of me who are unwilling or unable to give me that approval. And something like that would be what I would put in number 7 with a specific number of worksheets or mind shift or journaling session or whatever.
Yeah, that sounds perfect because that was the other thing that was kind of coming in for me was that here I was craving the love of people that just weren't capable of showing it to me. I mean, I'm not saying that they didn't love me because I believe that they did, but they weren't capable of showing it to me. So yeah, that set me up to be in a very
unproductive pattern.
Yeah.
Right? And an unwinnable situation. So here to wrap up this worksheet, I would do the little release where it says, I commit to love, capital L love, staying connected to my source, to living that human life. And to help achieve this, I'm going to do a mass canceling of all the times I've wanted anybody else to fulfill their own emotional needs. And just
wait a minute.
breathe into that.
That almost sounds like the opposite, because wasn't I committing to fulfilling my own emotional needs, and now I'm canceling?
You're canceling the need for other people to fulfill their own emotional needs. You're detaching your mental, emotional energy from trying to get people to change how they're living their lives.
Okay.
The goal you had in number 3 was for my father to fulfill his own emotional needs. So here, I'm going to do a mass canceling of all the times I've wanted that goal from somebody, Dad or anybody else in my life.
Yeah, and that's what's going on now with the cat. That's the tie-in. I'm projecting that onto this woman that she's, instead of, that she's looking to the cat to fulfill her emotional needs as opposed to fulfilling her own. Mm-hmm.
Right. And so then when you breathe into that and scan your body and notice how you feel, what would you say your upset level is right now?
It's definitely lower. I mean, it's not gone, but I'd say maybe it's like around a 6 as opposed to a 9.
Okay, so it went from a 9 down to a 6. And is it more of the anger or is it more of the sadness?
I'd say the sadness.
Okay, and just make a note for that. And that might be your next worksheet is on the sadness.
Okay.
And then you just get to decide for yourself if you felt that was a successful worksheet process.
Definitely, because it definitely did give me that new insight that I wasn't seeing about how I learned, from my father, how to look to others to have my emotional needs met.
Okie doke.
And I guess the thing for me now is to just get a better understanding of how I can do that for myself.
And I strongly encourage everybody when we have this kind of thing to understand that the way to freedom is to dismantle any negative judgments I have against myself for doing the same or similar thing that I thought I was upset with somebody else for. So, hey, you came by it naturally, you learned it from the pattern with your dad, and you've established this pattern of seeking your own acceptance and approval from people outside of you. Okay, time to just correct any part of that pattern I can when it arises and dismantle any negative judgment against myself when that happens. And breathe and soften and return my awareness to that loving appreciation of myself and others and move on. You want to break the pattern at every level. How do you think your dad felt when he woke up and realized he was using his daughter to satisfy his emotional needs rather than being a competent, independent adult in that way? He probably felt horrible, probably beat himself up miserably. So you just want to break every level of that pattern as you witness it happening within yourself.
Yeah, and I see how my parents' inability, because of everything that was going on with them, their inability to really appreciate me, I took that on myself, that I couldn't appreciate me.
Another good insight.
Worthy of that appreciation. So that's where I think I need to start with recognizing how I've done that to myself. Not been able to see how lovable I really am and how much value I really have.
Wonderful. We've got a minute or two left. Is it all right to ask Susan for her input?
Certainly.
Good going, both of you. Question, Dr. Tim. I was using the 5-step wake-up sheet with your detailed processing in it. What you were using was the 7-step adding the pattern in there, right?
Yes. And I just did that simply because it's what I have here available.
Right.
And so, if I have it available in front of me, then it frees me up to just read off of the page and then try and stay more connected to the person I'm working with if I'm trying to do it on the fly. And I found myself struggling to remember, okay, what version is Susan reading from? And I decided very quickly, since it was sitting right in front of me, to just go with the flow and work on the current or the most current version I have of the 7-step reality management worksheet.
Right. Okay, yeah, because there were a couple of things in there that I would like to make sure are in here, and I'm not sure now which ones they were, but I was very glad to have a little bit of a different angle. So yours was the 7-step, and you added your pattern in there. Is that what you just told me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And that's what I do most often in our support groups.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's very good because Ellen, thank you so much for doing that work. And where you arrived was really, I didn't anticipate that, and that was good, Dr. Tim. You did it. I mean, woo. Yeah, at the end of our Zoom session, I said, Ellen, we need Dr. Tim, quick. Will you call the show? So you got that text at the last gasp of our Zoom meeting before we called into you. Thanks for letting us do it, Dr. Tim.
Yeah,
well, my pleasure. My honor. Thank you, Ellen, for being willing to share, and thank you both for your continued listening and contributions.
Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome and deserving. I will mute you both so we can make the transition, and I will remind us all that we come from love. We're made of this stuff we call love. We actually are love, and everything else is false. Welcome, Jeannie Rice.
Thank you, Dr. Tim. Good conversation. Excellent worksheet.
It ended up being a whole worksheet process. So,
And that's awesome. That should be one of the special shows, I think.
All right. Well, have a lovely show.
Thank you.